And what was the exact thing that you said about the career, how it's just something that's so common?
Yeah, I mean, it's, people see it as fun,
Yeah.
so they see it as a hobby. So
Yeah.
a lot of people get into it, and some with the intentions of like going, full steam, and then some just want to do it just because it looks fun.
Yeah. And
Or
it's
to
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or to like, actually a lot of people get into it for like social media fame nowadays, I found. So it's like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it was completely different when I got into it,
Yeah.
because there was no internet. I mean, there was no YouTube or like
Yeah.
social media.
Because
So.
that was 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what we have so much to talk about. Because number one, I love how much you've evolved. Like, even though it was so long, you've just continued like going from DJing to VJing. But we got to start at the beginning. So,
Yeah.
because there was a thing, like you said, you played soccer and then eventually basketball, and you actually went to college and played basketball in college, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I don't
pretty
think
cool.
a lot of people know that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, my first love well, my first love was soccer. And then in high school, when I grew that, 4 inches during that summer, I went to try out for soccer after basketball season, and the basketball coach came down and was like talking to the soccer coach, and they pulled me out of the soccer tryout because they wanted me in basketball off season. So I couldn't play throughout high school. I couldn't play soccer anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was really good.
Wow.
Yeah, and so
Was it going to be professional career for you, or you thinking
soccer
that's
probably.
Soccer.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a
Wow.
professional soccer player.
Wow.
Yeah, but they thought I was more valuable on the basketball court, so I had to go basketball off season, and I guess it worked out. I mean, I still miss soccer, but I've always transferred my passion. So from one thing to another, it's kind of easy for me to do that. So it went from soccer to basketball, and yeah, I was fortunate enough to have the love for it to take it serious. I mean, I used to sleep with the basketball in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then there was like a transitional event that occurred for you in college, right? You went and you put your hand, like you started to DJ. You were at an event and you put your hand on a turn.
The universe was at work there. So played college basketball in Arkansas, Southern Arkansas University, and the coach he never played basketball before. He was just, I think he was a water boy or something before, and his dad was a coach in the town, so I guess they put him up there as a coach, and he would read books about basketball. That's how he kind of knew. He didn't actually experience it, and so I'm not saying we would butt heads a lot, but he didn't really kind of know the dynamic of the team and how to utilize it. But he would always pick on me. I was first every time we ran, like point guards. No matter, I was first in the 3 miles that we would run, because I was ambitious and I always wanted to be first. I was real competitive, and played really good defense, rebounded well. One of the best shooters on the team. So I ended up, scoring a good amount of points every game, and it was something about, I guess, I don't know why he didn't like me. He just didn't like me.
Yeah.
And so he would pick on me a lot. And one day, it just came to a head at basketball practice where, like, the guy, one of my friends actually, he elbowed, just like a tough man drill, rebounding drill. So he elbowed me, and like my mouth started bleeding. So like I looked at my mouth, and she's like, "Why are you stopping?" And the dude just started yelling at me. The coach did, and I was like, I said, "My effing lip is busted." And he's like, "Get out of here." So I was like, so I walked out and came back to practice the next day, and he said that you're off the team, and I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, cool. So I, called, this is my junior year. And so I was like, all right. So I left, and that was a Friday. So I left, went home, and I told my mom, and so I left, went home, drove back to Dallas, and my friends were like, screw it, we got a party in Austin, let's go. So we packed up in a truck and drove to Austin and went to this party, and we partied that night. Then the next morning we woke up, and the DJ, there was just turntables right there. And I was like, man, I always wanted to get my hands on some of those. And I asked somebody, and they were like, yeah, the DJ's asleep, but when he wakes up, you can. So he finally woke up, and then I went over and I asked him. He's like, sure. So he turned them on, and I literally touched him, I think, for 10 minutes before we left, and I just like fell in love
It was literally just touching him, then you were like, this is it.
Yeah. I mean, he
And
turned
you
on the
would
mixer, and I heard the sounds and felt the
Yes.
record and everything, and it was like after that I was just like in love, and I had like I think $1,500 saved up, and I was going to join a fraternity.
Yes.
And decided instead of joining the fraternity to invest in DJ equipment. And so that next week I went. Actually,
Which is a big decision.
Huge.
I mean, when you're in, you say, but like fraternity is a lot of times what people are looking forward to for their college years.
Yep.
And $1,500 is a lot for you to have made that. Like, that's what I find so interesting about your story. It was like literally two
Crossroads.
paths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I always tell people like I joined the greatest fraternity of all, which is like, DJ fraternity or DJ
Were you
culture.
thinking monetarily at that moment, or were you just
Oh,
thinking
no.
for fun?
No,
Wow.
I mean, I wanted to learn how to scratch. That was my main thing. I mean, growing up, we watched the movie Juice, and so like we got in trouble back then, like scratching my cousin's Prince record on an actual record player, which ruins the record. So me and my cousin actually got in trouble for that back in the day, but.
Because music was a passion in your family, right? Wasn't your father owned a dance club, right? And then he was into music, so music was a part of your life.
Yeah, he was actually. So when I was little, I'd tag along to his his rehearsals and his gigs and stuff like that. But yeah, it was always a thing. I mean, I remember back in the day, he had this club called the Roundhouse, and so I remember being dropped off by my babysitter like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m, and then the DJ still be playing. I remember playing Salt and Pepper Push It.
Yes.
What else? Like Big Daddy Kane, like those like all that, and
Like at the height of MTV Raps kind
oh
of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
So like,
Sorry to our
what-
audience who's like,
Right.
born before.
That's some of my earliest memories. So, but yeah, it's always been a part of me. I just didn't know technically how I would introduce myself into the art. And so
Yes.
once I touched those turntables that day, I was just like, this is it. Like, it was a light that went off in me, and I was just like, oh, yeah, I have to get them now. Like, so, we went back to Dallas after, partying in Austin. And it's crazy because the team, when I had left, they found out that I got kicked off. So the basketball team would not practice that entire weekend until they brought me back. So they basically held the coach hostage until he brought me back and reinstated me on the team. So like he showed up to Sunday practice they had, because we had a game Monday. So Sunday practice, everybody was dressed up in their clothes sitting on the bleachers, and he's like, what are y'all doing? He's like, they told him, they were like, you have been like, dogging Mike almost the whole season for no reason. Like, he's one of our best players and hardest workers. So, we're not going to practice. We're not going to suit up until you bring him back.
Wow.
And so, like, the whole team basically stood up for me. So, I got a phone call that they wanted me to come back. So, that Sunday evening, I drove back to Austin, to Arkansas.
And went back and started playing basketball,
Yeah, we
but
had a
yet
game that Monday.
was allowed that one really
That one little
momentous
break.
night.
Yep.
Mike, that's crazy.
It's wild.
That's amazing.
It's wild. Yeah.
So then, when did it start to become a career? And two things: knowing that it was an immediate gift, but like you investing a lot of your money, time to hone your craft. I don't think that's talked about enough. It's like, oh, they're just talented, but how much time it takes. And then when did you think, like, I can make a living from this?
Man, it was pretty quick because
Really?
Yeah, because I was really eager to learn. So after I got back the next week, I took that $1,500. I went to Dallas again. I went to Guitar Center and got this. This is called DJ in a Box at the time. So it was 2 turntables and a really cheap mixer. But the turntables were good, but they were belt driven and not direct drive. They were lower torque, so it was like different than like the professional grade turntables. But it was a starter kit and it was affordable, so I bought that. Bought a upgraded mixer from the recommendation of the guy at Guitar Center. So I bought the DJ in a Box, which is 2 turntables, headphones, and the rinky-dink mixer. So I bought an upgraded mixer and a DVD, like basically like a DJ 101 DVD that taught you like how to manage your equipment, how to set up your equipment, how to maintain it, how to DJ, how to blend songs, how to scratch. a little bit of everything in that DVD. And so I went back to, went back to school, and I think I bought like maybe 20 records at this place called All Time Party Time, which was an amazing place. And I went back to Arkansas. I set it all up in my dorm room, and my roommate was like, what? So I was playing basketball. We would travel a lot, going to college, and any of my spare time, I was learning how to DJ. Wow. And I basically like locked myself in the dorm, taught myself within, I think, 2 months. I think it was 2 months. And within that time frame, I think right after I kind of got a little comfortable with it, I ended up getting a DJ gig at this place called Oasis, which was in Louisiana-Arkansas border. Because Arkansas was dry, so you couldn't drink there, and there were no clubs, so had to drive across the border to Louisiana to have fun. So all the college kids would go there, and it was a country bar up until 12 o'clock midnight. And from 12 to 2, I would DJ. I don't know how I got the gig, I forgot, but from 12 to 2, I would DJ. And yeah, I remember like the hot records at that time was like Usher, yeah, Missy Elliott, Work It, a lot of Yin Yang Twins.
Yeah.
Tipsy. Like it was that at that time. It was straight party music. It was no like now it's like gangster music. Like back then it was about having fun and partying. The music made you feel good and have fun and party. So
which is why you got into it. It's the art of giving people an experience, and I think that's what you can feel that when you go to one of your DJ events or just when you're DJing at all of your various gigs that you have, that it's about giving people an experience.
Exactly. It's there's two parts to my personality as a DJ. One is growing up, I was I think I remember listening to Outkast and like UGK and man, like even like was it LL Cool J back in the day. But there was so much music out there that I missed, that when I got of age and started listening to like Wu-Tang and stuff like that in high school, I went back and just started listening to everything. So like I fell in love with hip hop, like the real hip hop. And so yeah, part of me when I DJ is a purist of like, you know, hip hop, real this, real that. Yeah. Then the other part is when people are in my control over their emotions, I want to make them forget about all the negative emotions they have. Yes. And I want them to focus more on the moment, and the energy that's created by me is really important. So I always like to try to give that 100% of the time, no matter what genre. So like, I could, you know, 70s music, 80s music. I mean, I've played Elvis before and had like a, you know, 70-year-old woman up dancing, like, you know, she hadn't danced in years, you know, and like her family came up to me and thanked me, and those times were the greatest times for me as a DJ, is when you can like actually, when you know that you actually impact people's emotions in a positive way. Yes. So that's kind of one of the most gratifying parts to me, and I'm not that type of DJ that's just gonna play the music that I like, because if that's the case, people will be listening to MF Doom all day, or like Wu-Tang or Nas or something like that. But I know that that's not everybody's cup of tea, so I try to give empathy. I think is my biggest asset as a DJ, as far as I can put myself in the shoes of the audience.
And like you said, your broad range of experiences growing up, being around different types of beings, around diverse cultures, it plays into music. Oh yeah. I
mean, the guys that I went to party with in Austin, they were all Asian. So yeah, I mean, in college too, I didn't hang around a lot of the popular kids. I mean, I hung around the international students. And I played like intramural soccer with them. So like, it's just never trying to like put, I don't put myself in a box as far as people I hang out with, or pigeonhole the type of this or that. So I'm always completely open to like everything, and I think it shows in my music, because I can, I feel that I can play any genre well, just because I have the knowledge. And if I don't have the knowledge of a genre, I'll make it a point to learn and kind of like be able to, not master that. I'm not a master of anything, but I can actually make great moments out of any music, I think.
which makes your appeal and then the ability to make a living off of it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're not pigeonholed in one way, you're able to be broad spectrum. So that's kind of where I was headed. Out of your experience, I mean, you played for the Dallas Mavs, the Mexican national soccer team. Like, we could, Red Bull, we can just name all of these awesome things that DJs would dream to do. There's a business to DJing. Like,
Oh, yeah.
can you speak to that, and how did you learn that business? How do you deal with it?
It's definitely a balancing act, and it's when something's your passion, you can kind of neglect the business side a lot.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that in a lot of places, people have agents, people have managers to handle all that. People have teams of people that work with them. I've never had that. I've basically done everything on my own, just for the simple fact I can. I felt that if I needed to do it, I should be able to learn how to do it. Even if I got somebody else, I need to learn it so I could actually, if they're making mistakes in the situation, I'd be able to correct those mistakes because I have knowledge of the same thing they do. That's why a lot of professional athletes get taken advantage of by managers, accountants, is because they don't know that side, so they don't know when things are going sideways. They can't, they'll just trust blindly. So, like, I make flyers, I do all kinds of stuff, but I think the most important aspect of my business is like the referral aspect.
I was going to say, because how did you get with the Dallas Mavs? How do those kind of things happen? So referral is huge.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's relationship building for me.
Which you are so strong at. Like, you're just so personal, but you can tell that you really genuinely like people.
Yeah. I mean, it's, a lot of the people that I know from the scene, it all organically occurred.
Yeah.
As far as like the relationships, friendships. I don't know. I like cool people, people that are like not stuck up, people that aren't like gonna eventually get to a point in their career if they are successful and then act like they don't know anybody who was with them, during those hard times. So staying humble and most importantly, like treating people how you want to be treated. So like that's how I've always done. I think that's helped me a lot in my relationship building. And so once I have a great product to go along with that mentality, a lot of people see that and they're like, all right, well, if I want to refer somebody, I'm not going to refer like the asshole DJ that like, has an ego.
Yes.
I want to refer somebody who, when they go up to that person, the client or whoever I refer them to, they're going to represent me in a great way. And so I feel that I do that for people.
And that's such an amazing frame of mind, because you're right. A lot of times when people get into the entertainment business, whatever the case may be, it is to feed the ego.
Oh yeah.
And you could be that, like, look at all that I've done, and look, but it's like, you're right to maintain that same energy. Like, I'm just here because, like you said, those root reasons of why you're doing it, and continually staying connected to that. It's so huge.
It's a grounding. It's grounding for sure, and I just know that at any moment it could all be taken away. So that's why I stay humble, because once you forget that aspect of it, you lose sight of why you're doing it. So
how do you know that? Like, but how did you come to that conclusion? Like, because a lot of people can live every day and not going, it can be gone. Why do you think like that?
I don't know. I have a different perspective of like success, fame, wealth. I've seen, like, I mean, you look at R. Kelly, you look at like Bill Cosby, you look at, I mean, there was even some like local DJs that things have happened to that like they just, everything was over at that point. Yeah. Look at cancer, look at car accidents, like everything has, like me doing this and being a blessing. And so with that, I can't take that for granted. So I always try to like, I try to maximize every day. I try to treat people how I want to be treated and make sure that what I'm doing because I enjoy it. And once it becomes a job, I need to pull back and start doing something else. Or once I lose the passion of something, then it becomes like I need to switch lanes. It's kind of like with basketball. Like I went to play in professional in Mexico, and that season was great. I did great, but it became a job,
Yeah.
and so I lost the passion,
Yeah.
and that kind of like it frustrated me a little bit, but also like it led me to my other chapter,
Yeah.
and so.
Well, it's amazing that you still have such a huge passion for it after all these years.
Oh yeah, it's you can reinvent things like within the music, like scratching, blending, learning new genres.
You're VJing.
Yeah,
adding
VJing,
the visuals,
right.
that was huge.
Mhm.
Like when you started like doing that, that was not something that was really common. Like for
Right.
people to start adding huge visuals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's to me that was almost like a natural growth process because I was born the same year as MTV, so like I literally grew up watching.
1980?
Yeah, I grew up watching MTV like
Yes,
constantly.
me
Like
too.
that was like when it first came out.
That
it
was
just
before
like,
reality
whoa.
shows for our younger audience.
Exactly,
That was
right.
before like they really played music and
Really
music
played music
videos.
videos, yeah.
Yeah. And so you're right, that visual with the music, like we got
Yeah.
to see Madonna, Material Girl, like we're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
her visual connected to that. Yeah.
And it brought the artist to life for. It's almost like the Kardashian phenomenon for this generation. Music videos was that for our generation
Ooh,
because we
so
actually saw these. We not only heard them, we saw them, and I mean the Kardashians, all that's pretty much fabricated. So these music videos were fabricated, but there was more authenticity to a lot of these music videos because this was the image that they were putting out, and it was back then it was more pure.
Music was more authentic.
Yeah, music
it came
was
from
more
a place
authentic.
of their
Right.
living, where they came from. Yeah.
It wasn't like they were gonna get like a, $100 million record deal.
Yes.
Or something like that back then. So a lot of people did it for the love. A lot of them were struggling artists.
Yeah.
So just seeing that and knowing visually and mentally about almost all of the music videos that were ever out. So it's something that I got to put to use once I started VJing is because I already know these music videos. I grew up with these music videos, which all the 80s, 90s, when I'm playing 90s, 80s videos, like early 80s videos, the older people come to me like, how do you know all this?
Yeah,
Who taught you this? Right. Who taught you this? It's like, I lived this.
Yeah.
So
like, this was my life.
Right. So yeah, I mean, to me, it was a natural progression. Once I found out that it was possible and how to actually do it, it became like really, I was really interested.
Yeah.
And it's something that I kind of took full force and I wanted to learn as much as I could about the visual aspect of music because it invokes an emotion as well.
Yes.
Because the nostalgia that you get from like seeing a music video and it's a time capsule. And so if I play that for somebody and they haven't seen the video in 25 years,
Yes.
they're like blown away. They're like, oh my God. And then the next one, and they're like, oh my God. So I get some people at my gigs, they'll all be sitting down and nobody's dancing,
Yes.
but the entertainment level is at a 10. They're like, oh my.
Yeah.
And so you just see them being blown away by every video that I play. And to me, that's why I do and continue to do the video thing. It's definitely not a gimmick. It's something that I actually loved growing up. So it's one of those things that I think that connects people to the music even more.
Yeah, I love it. We'll end with this then. So as I was sitting here listening to you talk about memories and childhood and just this whole journey that led you to this point and just the amazing perspective that you have on your career, thinking about your daughter.
Yeah.
What do we were talking, 6-year-old precious daughter, what do you wish for her future? We'll end it with that since we've talked about everything that's led you to this point. What are your hopes for her?
I don't know. I think the best life she can live is a life that full of passion. So if she does something or chooses to do something with her life, well, I'm not gonna push her to do anything. I'm gonna like show her music. You know, I'm gonna show her how to manipulate music, play the piano. She's already like making up her own songs, so she could be a songwriter if she wanted to. But I just want her passion to be her career in any aspect. I don't want her to be like in a mundane like situation to where she's unhappy every day. And I think that's, to me, the blessing of being a DJ full time is that I don't have to work a day in my life. I'm pretty much retired because I'd be doing this even if I wasn't getting paid for it, or if I didn't need the money, I would still be doing the same thing I'm doing now.
It's
So
the epitome of the saying, following your bliss. Like
Yeah.
you truly followed your passion and it led you to where you're supposed to be. And so many people don't do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, it's not even necessarily the right place at the right time. It's just, I think my mentality ever since a child has been like, I have to find something. I always wanted to find something, like, especially after basketball. I knew I couldn't play basketball forever.
Yeah.
And so like, when I did play basketball professionally in Mexico, I ended up saving all the money I made there and ended up buying professional grade equipment before I even got back. So that passion, ending that chapter in my life as far as basketball goes, transferred over into the passion that I have now. And I still to this day have those same turntables that I purchased back then. And so all I said was the work ethic is there, the passion is there. It doesn't matter what you apply it to as long as you apply it to something. So that's kind of what I'm trying to teach my daughters. Once you get a foundation of certain elements in your life, whether like with the passion and work ethic, those two things, once you apply to whatever it is that you want to do, it can take you as far as you can go, and you'll be happy on the journey. And that's what, like, there's no end result. There's no end goal to DJing for me. It's just that I'm enjoying the journey that I'm on right now.
You are dropping gems upon gems upon gems. Because you're right, like we focus on the end journey. And it's like, I'm trying to get here. But there is something so powerful about being in the moment. And like you said, every day is something to learn and grow.
Yeah. So I got really lucky with the early experience, which is, I was told that one out of every it's like 100,000 people will be a professional athlete by actually my former soccer coach and at the time present junior high basketball coach, because he was mad that LeBron had got this huge contract. He's like, why can't teachers get paid this much, athletes are? And so we had an actual confrontation in the classroom, me and him, and we knew each other. We've known each other at that point almost since I was 5 years old. I've known him. And he was just like, this is a false hope. Nobody's gonna go off in this classroom. Nobody's gonna be a professional athlete. And then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, so you mean to tell me that if somebody would have said that to Michael Jordan and he joined the military, we wouldn't have had the greatest basketball player ever, and we wouldn't have been able to witness greatness? You can't say that, because you're now letting everybody, like, you're discrediting everybody's motivation, everybody's dreams that's in this room. And it's like, I said I'm gonna be a professional, basketball player. And then he was kind of like yeah, right, whatever. And then I was like, all right, cool. So like, it was a little confrontation, but that kind of sparked this where it's like, every time that I was on a basketball team, I was working harder than every other person. I was in the gym more than any other person. It's kind of like what they say about Kobe, and he would beat everybody to the gym and things like that. Like,
it's like they're at 5 a.m. in high school before everybody.
It would be, me shooting 100, making 100 3-pointers before I left the gym, which would take probably 2 or 3 hours, where everybody else had already left, and I would ask the coach for the keys to the gym type stuff. So that passion and motivation, it sparked it, I think, then.
Yeah.
But once you accomplish certain things from that hard work, it just snowballs, and you look back and you see
it transfers.
Oh yeah,
right? Like it just transfers to what the next chapter is.
Yeah,
like
you see an obstacle in front of you or a challenge, and you're like, wait a minute, I've done this back then, and I've overcome that.
Yeah.
And so you basically have that confidence that you're gonna overcome that in the future. So there's like, the more you do, the more you can accomplish. So once I did make it professional in basketball, it wasn't the NBA, but it was still professional. I got paid to play. And so once I did make that and accomplish that goal, at that point, for the rest of my life, it's a free-for-all. It's like, there's no...
Did you send him a message or a picture of you?
No.
You're too humble.
I thought about it.
You're too humble and kind, but I would have been like, Ching ching.
I know. I did think I actually saw him after that too, but I didn't say anything.
You
But
see.
yeah, it just makes for a real good story, and I think it's like metaphor for like the future. And so like for my daughter, I want to have her have these small wins that add up to bigger wins, and it's just a snowball effect. It's like once you've accomplished something that you didn't think you could do, and I always teach her not to get frustrated. That's my main thing. Is like, don't ever get frustrated, because that energy that you're frustrated, that you're using to be frustrated, you can be using to solve that problem. And so I always stop her when she starts to whine. I was like, wait, stop. Now, what is the problem here, and how can we solve
it, being a problem solver rather than complaining about it.
Yeah, every leader I've ever been around hasn't dwelled on the negative of a situation. They always, if something catastrophic happened, their first thought is, how do we fix this? How do we save what's left to save? And those are the greatest leaders I've ever been around. So I always try to take that and try to, like, especially transfer that into her, and try to make sure that she knows that, because it's all about mentality and perspective for you to, keep something that's a solid foundation for growth. So, I need to write. I need to write these things down too.
You need to write them, because I'm an adult and you're speaking to me. Like, I'm just like, don't get frustrated, Jennifer. Don't get frustrated. It's okay, because life is.
Yeah, it's
these
tough.
are like, this is why I do this show, is because it's not about the DJing. It's like, you are the epitome of like this, because it's all about all those things that you've learned, all these gem drops. That's what it's about. It's like, as you're living life and pursuing your passion and doing fulfilling what you were meant to, it's like, who are you becoming? During that.
Right.
That's the story. And that's why I had to have you here, because I
you.
knew. I've seen you operate, and I know the energy, but then even now hearing you, because we've never had this kind of conversation where you're telling me this, I'm just even more amazed by you and the frame of mind that you carry with yourself daily, So
thank you so much.
you need to adopt us all. Say, daughter, son, don't get frustrated. What are we
Right? I'll send you a message. Are you frustrated?
Yeah.
Don't be.
Yeah. Are you going to solve it? What are you going to do? Yeah, it's who you're becoming, not what you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I just really appreciate it. I'm really excited, because I know people are going to get things from this. So awesome. Thank you for joining us. Beneath with Jennifer Stubbington. See you next time.